Welcome to the Age-Friendly Dayton podcast. This is a program showcasing insights and fascinating stories about the many age-friendly achievements happening in Dayton. Please welcome your host, Age-Friendly Dayton champion Donna Kastner and producer Terry O'Brien.
All right, Donna, we are back for episode number 5.
Yay, number 5, my lucky number.
Why is number 5 your lucky number?
I don't know, I just said that.
Okay. So, again, remind folks why we hope they're listening to us. What is it that the Age-Friendly Dayton podcast is supposed to be doing?
We're doing this podcast because amazing things are happening out there, and we want to share the insights, the research, and most importantly, the stories that are showcasing why age-friendly matters and what various groups across our community are doing to address and address challenges.
And it's just not Dayton, right? You're talking about Centerville, you're talking about Kettering, you're talking about other places.
Right, so again, for those that might just be joining us now, there are a dozen age-friendly communities in the greater Dayton area that are enrolled in the AARP Livable Communities program, focused on 8 domains of livability as it plays out for older adults. The older adult population is exploding. We will be age top heavy for at least 3 decades.
3 decades.
And so the way our parents and grandparents retired is not going to cut it. Some things might still work. Some things might need an adjustment. Some things have matured and we need something new. And that's what this movement is about, because we need to create a new landscape, new structure to support older adults that very easily could live into their 90s and beyond.
So when somebody hears age-friendly, it's an idea, it's a thought, it's a movement where you're trying to do things for the aging population.
Yes, you might have heard about the longevity economy. So longevity, we're living longer. Are we living, age spans increase, we want health spans to increase as well, right? We want to live a healthier life. So there's a lot of moving parts going on right now across America, and 800 communities across the United States are in similar initiatives supported by AARP.
Okay, so you mentioned something earlier called the sandwich generation.
Yeah, that's
I don't know what that means.
So Terry, I wanted to talk about the sandwich generation because joining us in just a little bit is Ellen Sizer. She's our guest interview, and she's a planner with the city of Dayton, which is recently enrolled in our program.
Okay.
But the sandwich generation, that term was first coined actually back in the 80s, and it was about boomers, because we were raising kids and then also watching our parents, trying to be good support for them. That concept of being sandwiched between two generations that need our support creates stressors. It pulls on our time. For me, I encountered that personally when my parents moved near us when my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and I was a mom. Our kids were in high school, and then my dad needed tremendous support that I was pleased to do, but what do you do? What's going to go? So the sandwich generation has intensified. Right now, Gen X, they're the generation behind the boomers. Boomers were really outspoken. Gen X was quiet and smaller. They're feeling this sandwich generation pull. Because actually these are people in their 40s and 50s, maybe delayed starting a family, and now they've got kids in school now and then aging parents, and they're watching both and a little stressed out, trying to support both to progress.
So does the age-friendly movement address that sandwich generation where we're trying to give resources or help to those folks?
And so sometimes we can't just run in there and help, but we're an awesome pointer channel, okay, to point them to resources within the community. Gee, mom and dad are in a house. It's getting to be too much for them to keep up. Oh, great. Here's a group that'll come in twice a year and help with yard work and what have you. There is a tremendous movement going on here within the greater Dayton region, thanks to the foundation and thanks to organizations like the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. There's support in the community. We recognize this problem is growing, and we need to do something. It might happen at the city level, so we're talking to Ellen about what's happening in the city of Dayton. It might happen in other ways. It might be organizations, nonprofits, volunteers, individuals, recognizing we got to do something about this. We can't keep our head in the sand.
Okay, well, is this a good segue to bring Ellen in?
I think it is a perfect time to bring Ellen in, so please stay tuned. We're going to take a short break.
We are.
But when we get back, the amazing Ellen Sizer with the City of Dayton will be joining us.
Here's a kind word from our sponsor.
thanks to the Mar Encore Fellows initiative at the Dayton Foundation for making this Age-Friendly Dayton podcast possible. Since 2017, the Dayton Foundation has deployed numerous highly skilled older adults into the community to work as Mar Encore Fellows to help communities solve problems and create new opportunities. Thank you again to the Dayton Foundation for making this Age-Friendly Dayton podcast possible.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Donna, tell us who we have sitting across from you today.
Terry, I am excited to tell you that we have the amazing Ellen Sizer joining us today. She's a planner with the City of Dayton. Our paths crossed about a year ago when she was in Clinton County working on age-friendly initiatives, and we tapped her as a speaker for our network, and everybody raved. And then suddenly, she's right here in Dayton now, so I had to get her on the show.
You had to get her on the show. Well, Ellen, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited to be here, and thank you, Donna, for that lovely introduction.
You hear that? She's excited to be here.
Yeah. So kind of a little bit about me. I graduated from the University of Cincinnati with my master's in community planning in 2021. And then kind of immediately that, I started working in Clinton County in Wilmington specifically. And that's kind of where my love for age-friendly took off. And there was already a ball rolling to create an age-friendly plan. And so I just kind of took it over and started doing it, and I've loved it ever since. And like Donna said, I transitioned to the city, more from rural to Dayton, and I'm starting over a little bit with the plan in Dayton, and it's really exciting to start from zero and up. So,
sure, and there's common threads, and then there's unique things that I would think in this role. You know what's interesting? Timing's everything, and so Ellen made this transition to Dayton, and just as Dayton was signing on to the program, so I was like, yes. So here we are in your first year, and age-friendly is one piece of a much larger pie of projects you're involved in, but tell us more about the age-friendly, what you're working on right now.
Yeah, so right now, we're kind of in the assessment phase of the age-friendly plan. There are about 4 phases. So this is the assessment, and then we have the implementation, and then we have the review, and then we do it again. So that's kind of how I view it. Yeah, that's kind of how I view it. And those are big chunks. There's little steps in between that. But right now, I'm actually getting a consultant to help me with survey help and also create more accessible infographics for those results, so they're more digestible, not just for older adults, but for everyone.
So real quick, what would survey question be?
Yeah, so it could just be scale of 1 to 5, how do you feel about the benches or the lack of, when you're walking to work, how, or if you walk down the street, what do you see? Kind of it depends kind of what kind of answers you want to get. Yeah. So for me as an interviewer, I always kind of open-end it. So I'm just tell me a story about the city and you in it. But I'm hoping I can get a little bit more narrowed in with this consultant to help me a little bit.
How many people will you survey?
Oh, as many as possible. So it'll be online. I'll be handing them out. I'll be going to community events, listening sessions, and hopefully I can get over 100. That would be my goal.
Sure.
So I think that would be pretty good.
Yeah, sounds good.
And back to how we're working together with the foundation. As a fellow, I'm here to help support. Mm-hmm. So we are helping as invited to do so. And one thing that we're teaming up on was the UD Sustainability, the capstone program. And Terry, it was really cool because Ellen has a lot to do around this, and there are 4 students now in a team helping to support her, and that's becoming their project.
Mm-hmm. So can we back up, because I'm not that smart of a guy. What is a capstone project?
It's like senior year, right? It's their culmination of their senior year within the sustainability studies that they're doing. So some of them are going down the city planner pathway. Some are going in other related adjacent pathways.
Is this their final project as a senior?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Final project. And Ellen, tell us a little bit more, because we got a chance to meet the students.
So it's just like kind of unfolding right now. But yes, like Donna said, we just met with the 4 students, and they're lovely and excited. And so it's just going to be really fun this semester working with them, especially through the assessment phase. But then I'm also going to try to introduce them to planning in general, because one lovely thing about planning is that it's interdisciplinary and it's very like wide, and you can do different things within one type of planning. So like in transportation, we can do age-friendly, or we can do just transportation, but there's like a lot of overlap that I think the students will really love about this project and moving forward.
And they're coming at it with a younger lens too. They're thinking of it is, I think, when you bring a multi-generational gathering or group together to look at these things, you'd be surprised at how relevant it can be across all generations.
Yeah.
So when these students come to you, right, what was your assignment for them?
Yeah, so that's kind of the fun thing about this capstone is like I'm just kind of there to like point in the right direction, kind of curate and bring it all together. But the students, it's really up to them of how they feel this, how the capstone should look at the end. So we're ultimately going to have a final product, either a presentation or a paper or something like that. But the in-between, it's like a lot of collaboration, and a lot of times with age-friendly planning, it changes all the time.
Right.
So it just kind of, it's a fluid project, but I have some ideas of where we could go. And I'm just gauging where the students are in their capacity and their interest.
So as a planner, especially focused on age-friendly stuff, what are the needs you currently see that you go, boy, we really need to do something about this?
Yeah, there's plenty. One I think that's really interesting is the housing aspect. It not only affects older adults, obviously, but one thing that Donna and I have talked about is the housing cost burden. I don't know if Donna, you want to talk about what that means?
So here's and again, I'm a student learning right alongside these wonderful people, but housing cost burden as it relates to older adults, your housing costs should not exceed 30% at any point in your life.
But if you're on Social Security, 30%.
You're on a fixed income and your taxes are going up, then suddenly you start to feel the squeeze and it's getting larger and larger. So there are some potential troubling signs, down the road that if not addressed, we could have some real housing challenges for older adults. So that's the kind of conversations I think we're looking, where are you now? Ellen, if you remember, you and I teamed up at the downtown library, and we heard that from, we had about 25 older adults in the audience, and I would say easily half of them were already feeling financial constraints with the housing choices they made.
So make sure I got this right. We're not talking about extended living care, nursing home care. We're talking about
a roof over your head,
apartment, cable TV, those kind of things, where they go. So you're saying basically 30% of your income or your whatever you have coming in.
That's the guideline.
The guideline should be for housing. That's not a lot.
No, it's not. But you look at the rising cost of food. There's a myriad of other expenses. And let's step back for a minute. 90% of people age 60 and older, we know this from AARP, they want to age in place, which typically means I have this big house I raised my family in, and I'm not moving. But they're not taking steps to maybe adapt that house to make it more age friendly should, mobility challenges, let's say, happen.
And Ellen, is that what you guys are talking about? Letting people stay in their existing house, but helping them with modifications?
Yeah, I love age in place. I think we should all adopt universal design as another spin to it. It's just making hallways a little bigger, entryways a little bigger, things a little smoother, just kind of making it more graceful as we age, because most people, like you said, most people want to age where they live currently.
How do you see the city getting involved with that, right?
Yeah.
Is there going to be a number? Call 1-800-AGE-IN-PLACE thing for the city of Dayton? What is the vision for that?
Sure. I think the vision right now is we're creating it a little bit. With the age-friendly plan especially. And so how I foresee it is we'll create this plan, we'll start the implementation, but then I think a lot of it is going to be on advocates like ourselves and myself of like, age-friendly older adults are part of this conversation, and here's how. And I think once that momentum starts building, we can actually have some synergy with moving forward with the city.
So, for example, I think it is like partners in the community. So some things may come under the purview of the city directly, and other things might come through partnerships and education and just saying, hey, did you know this is out here? Here's a list of things you might explore. Right. But, for example, we're back to age in place, home maintenance. And I'm I'm observing from the spectator gallery, it's like faith-based communities seem to be jumping into the annual home maintenance thing where they might go help clear leaves out of the gutters and help seniors do things. I mean, even recently I looked at my husband and said he was getting on this big ladder. He was getting on this big ladder. I'm like, honey, I think our days of climbing tall ladders are starting to dwindle, you know? I think we got to start thinking about how we do this in other ways. And that's probably, so this age-friendly is kind of a movement with many, it takes a village and many people, but when the city says this is a priority and they study the data, that's when everybody else kind of comes in. And for myself, I'm through the foundation, another partner of many.
So Donna, is there an example out there in the world, you're a worldly person, that of a community or a city that's done a great job that maybe Ellen is using as a example?
Well, first of all, she was that example in Clinton County, which is why she probably has landed now the wonderful opportunity in Dayton, because she was doing amazing things around housing as it related to Clinton County. But she's part of a larger network, and it's not just our Miami Valley network, but AARP. There's almost 800 communities across the nation that are moving through this. We can't put our head in the sand anymore. Retirement looks different and across a number of parameters. So Ellen, when Dayton enrolled in this program, now they have access to action plans, to studies, to research that will help them, and some of it will apply to Dayton and some of it won't. But gosh, we had somebody from Central Massachusetts join us for a previous meeting. You'd be amazed. Like, there are other people solving this problem, and Ellen, as leader for Age-Friendly Dayton, and her teams have access to this through AARP.
Yeah. How do you spread the word, Ellen?
There's many ways. I mean, just doing the work, I think, is spreading the word. But like Donna said, there's so many avenues and so many already advocates out there. It's just tapping into them and kind of like coagulating together to implement something as simple as benches on a main street, or, just trying to gather people for a walking group. It doesn't have to be huge, but it does take some coordination, and that's kind of how I feel spread the word, is through connection and also like just doing this every day.
Will you be doing like group meetings, community meetings where people come to the library and hear you talk? Kind of thing. Is that what your vision might be?
Yeah, it might be me talking, or I might be like a guest speaker talking. I'm planning to kind of use this assessment phase to gather as many opinions as possible with this upcoming survey I'll be doing. And so one place I'm going to tap into is kind of the neighborhoods in general, and not really like single one out, but just kind of see which ones are interested in hearing more about it and go there. And then from there, I can kind of spread and go to different neighborhoods and different communities. So it's going to be a lot of like groundwork, I think, on my end. But I have all the help I could ever need. So I'm not scared of that, but I'm excited.
Part of the problem I'm having with almost anything is there's so much things out there in the world.
Drinking from a fire hose.
I don't know it's out there.
Yeah.
I don't know it's available to me. And, like the veterans, they do a great job of communicating veterans benefits, commercials, things like that. So you see it on TV, between the news. How does the city go about communicating things like that?
Right now, it's pretty, in terms of age-friendly, it's pretty nascent. They just adopted the age-friendly plan and became an age-friendly city in October. But
really? That's recent.
Yeah,
they joined us just this year. So
what does that mean when you're part of the age-friendly plan? Does that mean you get a diploma? That means you're guaranteed to do certain things.
You get to hang out with the cool kids, the 12 other communities that have enrolled in the program.
Yeah, it's a commitment. You're like saying the legislation and the elected officials and the staff all agree that this is a priority and should be taken into consideration and done.
Is there money set aside for this? Is like a budget for this? Okay, so you're basically tapping into a larger budget of things.
But there's grant funding, and that's where the foundation comes in, and others.
Yes.
So for example, there's grant funding supporting the surveys and listening sessions and some of the activities that Ellen will do, thanks to the Dayton Foundation and the Del Mar Fund.
Sponsors of this podcast.
Yeah, just got to make sure, got to close that loop.
Exactly. There's once you get kind of used to finding what you need and how you can get it, it gets easier with finding grants and stuff like that. But I would just say ask people, even if you're not sure they know, it's okay. Or ask your librarian. Librarians know everything.
They do. It's amazing.
They do, yeah.
It really is amazing.
Which is why that's a great place for us to do meetings.
Yeah.
And then even the Healthy Aging Grant in the state of Ohio. So this is stuff that, Terry, you might not see, but in the fall of this past year, there was millions of dollars of funding was funneling through counties to support healthy aging initiatives. And then you hear about it, you pass along the word, everyone's, so it's a work in progress because I think we're really understanding we can't ignore this and we want to get in front of it and help people to age more gracefully because that impacts all generations.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's kind of funny. You come into Centerville, you'll see these little signs that say, we're the largest community of stone houses in Ohio. Right? Very impressive. Yeah. I'm wondering why cities don't promote things like they do like this, like we're an age-friendly community, like on little signs on the side of the road kind of thing.
Stay tuned, because that's why we're doing this. See, we're only 2 years into this initiative, so
you don't have it done by now? Come on, Donna.
Well, I'm trying to get the word out through your amazing broadcasting with this podcast. So that's it. Is socializing the conversation is half the battle, so people are aware. And then you're right. That's a wonderful thought that Dayton is now an age, because you are truly now an age-friendly. You're enrolled in a program, and you're never done.
Oh no, you're never done.
No.
Yeah.
But by putting something up there, people will ask the question, what does age-friendly Dayton
Correct.
mean? And then that will drive interest into everything that you're doing.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So housing was one of them. Do you have another example of things that you're focused on?
Mostly with housing right now, just as a topic of discussion, as well as I've been also looking at transportation as well. They kind of go together. But
is that like RTA stuff?
It's more not the natural environment, but the built environment, and like I was saying, how can we make our walking paths more accessible and age friendly? How can we make those curb cuts so people can get on wheelchairs easily? So they're more about the active transportation. So recently there was an adopted plan called the Active Transportation Plan, and I'm working with those staff members that did that plan to make kind of an age-friendly plan and have it blend. And so we're going to have a more holistic approach to this age-friendly plan built on housing and transportation kind of together. And that kind of bleeds into subtopics as well.
All right.
And it's interesting, even in watching this unfold, I'm learning for transportation. I mean, I could make a phone call and get a ride in a van or something to a doctor's appointment. Right. I didn't know that. That's something within mobility and transportation that is already out there. So half the battle is getting the word out to the community that needs it. And right now it's like, no, fine, I'm driving, I don't need it. Well, when you need it, often it's sudden. Yeah. And now I really need it. Yeah. And there's a scramble. So we were trying to be proactive in getting this information out.
So, Ellen, as we land this podcast, because we're coming to the end of our time here, when you close your eyes at night and dream of 5 years down the road, what do you see?
Oh, man.
I know it's a tough question. It's one of my interview questions.
It's a great question.
It's a great question. I see several things. Ideally, I would just encourage anyone who's just a little bit curious in this work to get involved, whether you're more of a doer or you can supply things or you can influence things or even create things.
Are you saying you were looking for volunteers?
Not for me particularly,
but just in general, in community in general.
And even a core team of advisors as you move forward.
Exactly, yes. So that will be happening as well. And that, speaking of that, a key part of the plan is using this created team. So I'm going to create kind of an advisory team of different stakeholders, older adults, elected officials, to kind of push this implementation when that comes phase forward. But that's kind of what I'm saying. That's a way to get involved. You know, someone like Donna is a great source, as well as like, if you see Dayton is age friendly, figure out what does that mean? You know, just like I would love to see more people take the lives of older adults as human rights and kind of put it in perspective, because like as we know, the aging population is outgrowing the number of children.
Correct.
So it's just...
And that will continue for decades.
Yeah.
You know, this is a source for another podcast, and this is where we'll leave it. Other cultures, the elderly are treated differently than they are in the U.S.
Yes.
Well, and we're working on that, too.
Yes.
You're going to address everything right here.
We're going to just make the world a beautiful place again.
Well, Ellen, I want to thank you for joining us today. You've been amazing.
Oh, thank you so much.
And Donna, anything you want to add before we sign off?
No, I'm really... And stay tuned, because we're kind of out there trying to amplify what's going on. You know, so as Ellen hosts programs, we'll put the word out.
Yeah.
I guess follow Age-Friendly Dayton on LinkedIn, or reach out to me if you want to connect with Ellen, and we'll continue. I think that's half the battle is how do we communicate when we're hosting events.
I agree. Well, Ellen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to have a word from our sponsors right now. Well, thanks, guys.
Thanks to the Mar Encore Fellows initiative at the Dayton Foundation for making this Age-Friendly Dayton podcast possible. Since 2017, the Dayton Foundation has deployed numerous highly skilled older adults into the community to work as Mar Encore Fellows to help communities solve problems and create new opportunities. Thank you again to the Dayton Foundation for making this Age-Friendly Dayton podcast possible.
All right, Donna. Wow, she was fantastic.
You know, Ellen is amazing in her knowledge and command of planning issues as it relates to this older generation. I've learned so much from her.
She's so young. I know. It
It's
irritates
wonderful.
me. Yeah, she's just too young. Because she's got so much knowledge about this already. She's such a fantastic person.
And that's why we have to kind of team up across the generations to really look at this, because it impacts us all.
Right.
But I got to tell you, so Dayton is just joining our Miami Valley Age-Friendly Network.
Right.
There are other communities that are a year or so ahead of Dayton right now. They've done the assessments, they've done the surveys, they've landed on some findings, and now they're actually creating their action plan and starting to test out ideas.
Do we have an example of that?
Well, let me give you one.
All right.
Age-Friendly Centerville. We had Kate.
That's where I live. Yep.
Kate Bosdorf joined us on a prior episode. They came up with a really cool idea, and it's just a straight-ahead thing. And these are small ideas that can move the ball forward as far as supporting generations. They wanted to get a golf cart because, Stubbs Park, they have all those wonderful concerts going on.
I helped them with those efforts, and I actually helped park cars at that effort.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because if you're bringing an older adult, maybe a parent or grandparent,
right,
to enjoy the
and
wonderful,
they
love it, right?
They love it.
But the challenge is getting from the parking lot to their place to watch the concert.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So Centerville and their team of advisors said, hey, what if we got a golf cart? And what if we transported people back and forth? So that was the what if idea that Centerville came up with. And now through various groups like the Dayton Foundation, we're trying to explore how would we fund that. So stay tuned. I think that's an idea that's about to happen.
Well, that's great. So maybe I'll get to drive the golf cart versus just pointing people at this.
Wow, that's another consideration. Okay. Who gets to drive the golf cart? But you can see, so it's these kind of big ideas that actually hatch when you bring the community together. So what do we do? How would we solve this? And that's what they came up with.
So let's leave the people with a little teaser. What do we do? We're doing another podcast in a little bit. Who's going to be our guest, and what are we talking about?
In our next episode, Mike Beavis is going to be joining us, and he is an incredible example of someone that's living an encore chapter of his life magnificently. He is engaged in work on retainers for a number of companies.
Yep.
He talks about himself as a fractional executive. That means like Mondays he might be working for this group, Tuesdays for this group, but he's also an extra mile go giver and very active in foundations and also volunteer work. So stay tuned. He's our next fascinating age-friendly champion. How's that?
All right, folks. Well, that has been it. A great episode here with Ellen, and we hope you join us again here at the Age-Friendly Dayton podcast. I'm Terry O'Brien, your producer, and this is Donna.
I'm Donna Kastner, age-friendly champion and Mar Encore Fellow.
So we'll see you soon.